Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We want to start by welcoming guests. If you're a guest, I know we have a number. If you're here with the Mayavez family, we're not going to go through and too many of you to have everybody introduce themselves, but can you wave just so we know? We want to welcome you to the congregation. Anybody from out of town? Yeah, how far? Who wins? Who wins the distance? Florida? All from Florida. Oh, this must feel right at home for you. This is good. Well, welcome. We're excited for tomorrow. Aliyah will be our teacher and read Torah and has a wonderful, wonderful speech that she'll share as she becomes a bat mitzvah. Any other guests who are here who are not with the bat mitzvah? No? No? So let's take a moment. Let's turn to our neighbors, say Shabbat Shalom, welcome everybody. And make sure that we begin by greeting each other. We'll invite Melissa and Aliyah up to our candles as we turn to page 2 in our prayer books for the blessing over our Shabbat candlesticks. Is that on?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Light the candles. Light the candle. Yeah. You help us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Page 10, we welcome everybody as we share the words Hinei Ma Tov, how nice it is for us to be able to be together.
Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hinei ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Take a moment as we walk back through our week. Remember where we were just 1 week ago. All that's happened in these last few days. The change in the temperature from summer to winter. But more importantly, the people we've been with, the relationships we've worked on, the blessings that we've had. We bring them into this space as our sanctuary as we begin Shabbat together. Page 20 in our prayer books, we welcome Shabbat with celebration, the words of Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Hishmiyanu el hamyuchad Adonai echad Shemo echad L'Shem tifaret v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha Ki hi mekor habaraka Mirosh mikedem לסוכה, סוף מעשה ומשכה בתחילה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Please rise as we turn towards our entrance, as we spiritually welcome Shabbat into our sanctuary.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה וזוך עולה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה. בואי חלה, לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקרא כלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
Page 26.
יגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחייך בית ישראל. בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ועלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילם ינקום ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא, ויאמרו Amen.
Page 28, Nevarach. Let us begin to bless this evening. The words of Baruch Hu.
Lai 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 ya lai 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 Baruch Hu Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed.
Page 31. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom this evening flows.
Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv, Hamariv Aravi.
Page 32. Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Page 34 and 35, Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kivod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated as we invite Aliyah up to lead us in Via Hafta, which is found on page 36. Can you hold that and do it at the same time?
Okay. V'ahavta es Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ela asher anohi mitzaveha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivteha b'beiteha ulekteha b'derech ushehaha uvkumeha ufratam leota yadeha v'hayu totafot b'neineha uftatam amuzot beiteha u'yishareha l'man tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yehem kedoshim l'olehem ani Adonai Elohehem asher hotzi etem me'eretz Mitzrayim le'ot lahem Elohim ani Adonai Elohehem.
Please join me responsively, page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did.
Page 40.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder v'kodesh, nora tehilot oseh fele, nora tehilot oseh fele. Malachutecha va'uvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, ze'elianu v'yamaru, ze'elianu v'yamaru. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neder v'kodesh, nora tehilot oseh fele, nora tehilot oseh fele.
Pages 42 and 43 are a prayer that we enter into this evening peacefully, that we find a sense of rest, a sense of holiness in our evening. Spread over us your shelter of peace, God, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours.
Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
On page 44 and 45, these two prayers on page 44 in the Hebrew, Vishamru, that we should guard Shabbat, Yismachu, that we should make it a celebration. So much of what we hear lately about our tradition and our faith and our people is put in the negative, into arguments and debates and anti-Semitic comments. Too easy it is to forget how much has been given, what really should be said. This passage on page 45 was written in that light. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees, for Shabbat arrives. Scattering a song in the silence of the night, eternity utters a day. We have been a people who have given a great deal of joy and value and blessing to the world. Let us embrace that blessing as part of our story, as a response to those who don't know that part of our story. We turn to page 46. As we share the words of our Amidah, the beginning of our most personal prayers, first we'll ask for the ability to be sincere in our words. Then we'll call upon the names of our ancestors from Abraham and Sarah, who we will hear about in our Torah portion this evening, all the way to our own generation, allowing us at the end of this series of prayers to add our own words as we'll pray silently. Please rise, page 46.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'Nehem, L'Ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayeh HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melach melech meimi umechaya umatmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata l'hachayot hakol Baruch ata Adonai mechaye hakol.
Page 52, Ata Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh u'Kdoshim b'chol yom Yahalalucha Sala Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. You can be seated. On page 59, God of goodness, we take time now to give thanks for the gift of life, for wonder beyond words, for the awareness of our soul, the light that comes from within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer our thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lahodot. On page 60, we turn to the words of Shalom Rav, words that are aspirational for us as they ask us to look out at the world, ask God as our partner to make the world perfect, to make it full of peace. Page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki Ata Melech Adon L'chol HaShalom. Ki Ata Melech Adon L'chol HaShalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol et u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
In the same way that we believe that our focus on the world helps us to address the struggles that the world faces, we believe that our focus on individuals, those who are suffering at this time, who are sick, in need of strength and healing, that our focus on them also gives them strength. And we pray allows them to reach refuah shlema, a full sense of who they are. Page 253, we share the words, our prayer for healing, Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
If there's a name of someone you'd like to share aloud, please share it as we look around the room.
Steve Evangelista, David Winters, Kathy Meyerson, and Reed Wasserstrom.
Mitch Ehrenberg.
Mishaberach throw for Shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We conclude our Amidah with a few moments for our own words. We pray silently.
Oh, say shalom b'roma. Oh, yes, say shalom aleinu. Ve'yakol Yisrael. Ve'imru, imru, amen. Yes, shalom. Yes, shalom. Shalom aleinu. Ve'yakol Yisrael. Yes, shalom, yes, shalom, shalom aleinu ve'yakol Yisrael. Yes, shalom, yes, shalom, shalom aleinu ve'yakol Yisrael. Yes, shalom, yes, shalom, shalom aleinu ve'yakol Yisrael. Yes, shalom. Yes, shalom, shalom aleinu ve'yakol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom. Two weeks ago, it's been 3 weeks since I've been here. 2 weeks ago, I was in New York with our teenagers. Last week, I was honored to be in Washington, D.C., actually just outside Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia, as I was part of the installation ceremony for Rabbi Barrett, who grew up in our congregation. It's always a wonderful trip. Those of you who are we have a private Facebook page for parents in our religious school, so many of you saw our pictures from New York. Many of you didn't. We try not to throw bunches of pictures of our kids up on the internet for anybody to have at. And so I want to share a little bit about our trip. But let me start with this, which is I've done this trip many times with the different synagogues that I've worked at. It's always a wonderful trip. I get a lot of sympathy. People say, oh, you took 10 teenagers to New York. That's so painful. It's actually about as good as it can get. To see their eyes, open up big, even if they've been to New York before, and to walk the streets with them, and we had beautiful weather. And because I've done this trip many times, I have my favorite bagel shop. So the kids sleep at the hotel. I let them sleep in a little bit, which by my standards means that they have to get up by 8 o'clock. And I get up early, and I go to Essa Bagel at the corner of 50th and 3rd Avenue. And usually, there's a line around the corner. So I wait in line about half hour, 45 minutes. You slowly get into the store. It's a great classic bagel shop, tall counter, all sorts of great spreads and options, and everybody's, putting in their orders. And there I am by myself. I order a dozen bagels, 4 cream cheeses, sliced, of course. And I get up to the counter, and as she said to everybody who was there before me, the woman who was working behind the counter says, "Is that all?" In a way that came with, I can't mimic it enough. It's like a way that came with judgment, like I didn't do a good job of ordering my bagels. And it strikes me as, even though she was clearly not Jewish, in fact, she was very obviously Muslim, but what a Jewish response. That you go to get breakfast, and somehow you do it wrong, even though they know nothing of what you're trying to do or order. I share that because this is so often how we look at our world, especially our Jewish world. The week's Torah portion, Kathy's going to read a section of it in a little bit. We'll hear more of it tomorrow from Aliyah. And so you'll become quite familiar with the fact that this week's Torah portion's name is Chaye Sarah, which means the life of Sarah. Sounds lovely, except it starts with the death of Sarah, and it ends with the death of Abraham. So we call something the life of someone, and actually we just talk about death. One of the commentators on this, Rabbi Kripke of blessed memory, who was the former conservative rabbi in Omaha where I served prior, he said that this Torah portion is there to remind us that Jews believe that our beginnings are always difficult, that there can be nothing positive. We always have to start with difficulty. The Torah, all the stories in Genesis, that even Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden sounds all great, but then they make a mistake and it all goes awry, right? You get to Noah and the ark, the world is flooded, he's got to save his family. Here you are, Abraham and Sarah, they're the beginning of the Jewish people, of the Israelite tribe. They finally have a child, and what do we talk about? We talk about the challenges of losing your spouse, and then at the end of the portion, losing Abraham. So he says, for some reason, the Jewish people believe that when we come into being, that when we enter into something, it has to have some difficulty. And so often, when we look back on history, Jewish history, that's exactly what we talk about, all the difficulties, the challenges that we've had. In fact, a commentator this week, because there was recently, as you might know, Israeli elections, was talking about two of the frontrunners of Israeli politicians. He described them in the following ways. One seemed to always speak exhaling, meaning tried to calm everyone, say it's going to be okay, and just relax, and you could sort of see it in his body. The other one was always increasing anxiety, making everybody feel tense and afraid. Who do you think won? Right? Mr. Tense and Afraid, right? So there seems to be this sense that we are drawn, whether it's just as a Jewish people or maybe it's human nature, we're drawn to the struggles, the challenges, the fears, the anxieties. We seem to remember history that way. We seem to remember beginnings that way. And I wanted to say that because for the last 2 weeks, being both in New York and then being at Rabbi Barrett's synagogue in D.C., it was the exact opposite. And it was a great reminder, something that I think has been hard for us in these pandemic years, to get out into the world and feel exactly how beautiful and joyous our world, especially our religious communities, can be. So let me tell you a little bit about it. Because for me, the last 2 weekends, even though I missed being here, essentially, even with all the sympathy I got, I was really just smiling the whole time. We went to this, with the kids in New York, we went, as some of you know, to this famous restaurant that Mitch Ehrenberg introduced us to called Russ and Daughters. It's an amazing Jewish diner. Great food, breakfast food, lox and bagels and cream cheese, and that's all lovely and that makes you happy on your own. But because of Mitch and his relationship with our congregation and with that restaurant, we got to have the owner, who is a fifth-generation owner of this once very small restaurant on the Lower East Side, come speak to us. She shared with us that this restaurant, they believe, is the first restaurant in America and possibly beyond that has the name Daughters in the title of the restaurant, because her great-great-grandfather wanted it to be a family restaurant and he had no sons. And so he was innovative in saying it should go to my daughters. And so he put his daughters in the title 100 years ago. Then we went to an amazing synagogue built in 1887, the first synagogue ever built by immigrants for immigrants. All the previous synagogues in America were something else before they were a synagogue, probably a church, and they were repurposed. This was the first building in 1887 that Jews on the Lower East Side built with their own hands. It's this gorgeous synagogue, and then in the 1920s, when there was a quota on Jewish immigrants, and Jews were starting to migrate to Long Island and Akron, Ohio, the synagogue went into disrepair. They closed the doors to this gorgeous, beautiful sanctuary that seats hundreds of people with balconies on either side and stained glass all around. They locked the doors, and no one opened the doors for 40 years. Until a professor who was doing research on the history of the Lower East Side realized that it might still be standing, and so he went to the rector and said, "Can I get the key?" He opened it up. The ceiling had been opened by the elements. There were birds living inside the sanctuary. So they raised money, and for 20 years they restored it to its original state. It's incredible. They still have the name placards of the people who gave money 100 and some odd years ago, who were sitting in those seats as those early immigrants. We went to Central Synagogue, a synagogue many of you watch on Friday evenings. Beautiful synagogue with beautiful music, a wonderful message, but perhaps what's more moving in this moment is that on a random Friday night in November, you walk into a synagogue and there are 600 people there with you. And then we spent Shabbat morning in Central Park. I say all of this to say it was just filled with joy and optimism. Even a trip to the 9/11 Memorial Museum, of which none of our kids were born when that event happened. But even that, as they walked out and looked at the city and shared in their time together, even that was not necessarily sad. To last weekend, being at the congregation with Rabbi Barrett, a congregation so much like our own. The sanctuary looks essentially like our sanctuary. The congregation is in the suburbs of D.C. The people are warm. The rabbi started with a brilliant poem that he wrote about the rabbinate with wonderful rhymes. It was a lovely, joyous celebration. And somebody came up to me after the service and said, "I want you to know that I've lived in this area for many decades, but my family got to America because somebody in Akron, Ohio saved them and brought them over from Europe. So I've always felt a connection to Akron, Ohio, and I want you to know that." But I kept feeling, as I was at the synagogues in New York, as I was at the synagogue in D.C., that it felt so much like here. There was some sort of a link between what we do here and what they do there. And I could see it in the faces of our children also, as they're not really children, teenagers, as they so easily picked up the prayer book and followed along with the service. And then even afterwards, they said, "That was really good." And so I share that because I think sometimes, even though there's lots of scary, depressing, unfortunate, anxiety-ridden times, especially in these last weeks, that doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about the blessings, the joys, the ways in which the world is still standing strong, proud, and beautiful for us to experience, as we will tomorrow, as Aaliyah leads us at her bat mitzvah. We're about to enter into Hanukkah. And so let's start with my complaint, because that's fitting for the sermon tonight. I like it better when Hanukkah's early in December, because I like Hanukkah to stand alone, because it's a wonderful holiday of celebrating exactly what I'm trying to say. It celebrates miracles. It says, we know the story of the oil. The oil lasted 8 days, and we tell that story all the time. But if you read in the Mishnah, which is one of the rule books for Judaism, here's what it says right after it tells the story of the oil lasting 8 days. Our sages ordained that these 8 days be commemorated to be days of happiness and praise, which is why you should light your candles and put them every evening at the entrance to your home, so that you can publicize the idea that you know that there are good things, miracles that happen in our world. And, a rule you may not be familiar with, during Purim and during Hanukkah, it is forbidden to do two things. You can't eulogize someone, and you can't fast. You're simply not allowed to be sad. We have 8 days of that coming up. They're going to get overwhelmed by all the holiday breaks and by Christmas celebrations and everybody traveling and doing all these things. But it is, in fact, our season of pointing out what is beautiful what brings us light, the joy of giving gifts, of eating fried food, of being together and seeing the world for what's beautiful. I hope we'll all get to experience a Hanukkah that gives us that sentiment. And I hope for all of us that whether you're here or in New York or DC or wherever you're traveling or whoever you're seeing, you find a way to see the blessing in it, to see the beauty of it, to see that we are not just a people who have had our struggles and our challenges. We're also a people who continue to have our blessings and our joys and our miracles right before us. Shabbat Shalom. With that in mind, we turn to our Torah portion as we'll take our Torah from the Ark. We invite you to turn to page 250 in your prayer books and to please rise.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Udavar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadolu Adonai iti, unaramema Shemo yaktav. Lecha Adonai hagedula, v'hagevura, v'hatiferet, v'hanetzach, v'hahod. Ki ko b'shamayim uvaretz, Ki ko b'shamayim uvaretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha, v'hamitnaseh lechol erosh. Al shlosha divarim, Al shlosha divarim, Al shlosha divarim, Haolam, haolam amen. Al shlosha divarim, Al shlosha divarim, Al shlosha divarim, Haolam, haolam amen. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim.
Please be seated. With those blessings on our minds, we invite Patty and Wayne up. We're going to offer a special blessing over Patty and Wayne in a few moments, but first we ask them to lead us in our blessing over the Torah. Baruch Adonai Amvarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai. Oh, you have to say it. Baruch atah Adonai Amvarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayakom Sadeh Ephron, Asher b'machpelah, Asher lifnei Mamre, Hasadeh hamara, asher bo v'chol ha'etz, asher b'sadeh, asher b'chol guvulo saviv. L'Avraham lemikna, le'enei v'nei chet, b'chol bo isha'ar iro. Bayarchein, kavar Avraham, et Sarah ishto, al marat, sedei b'machpelah, al panei mamrehi Hebron, be'eretz Canaan. Vayakom hasadeh, b'hamara asher bo, la'Avraham lachuzat kaver, me'et b'nei chet.
Asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And so the section that the cantor just chanted is the actual giving of land to Abraham. Actually, not giving, he purchased the land. And if you heard the word sadeh a number of times, the field around the land is what that means, and the cave of Machpelah, which is it says actually in the Torah, in the town of Hebron, or Hebron, as we would say in English, which you can go to Israel today and visit that very same town. And it's believed that there is a space there where you can actually go, and it's Sarah's grave, which we believe is told to us in this very section. So we'll raise our Torah now as we prepare to return it. We'll ask you to stand, and then Patty and Wayne are going to join us at the Ark as we offer a special blessing over them. So you'll just follow me.
V'zot haTorah asher sa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Yadadadadai, yadadadadai, yadadadadai,
If you'll open the Ark.
Etz hayim hi lamachazikim ba v'tomecha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh, Chadesh yameinu Chadesh yameinu Kekedem.
Remain standing for a moment as we offer this blessing over the two of you. 50 years. Where were you married? Where was your wedding? In Akron. So 50 years ago, right? Anybody at their wedding? Anybody here? Your mom? Your mom was at the wedding. Anybody else at the wedding 50 years ago? No? Okay. Patty and Wayne, you look back on these years that have passed since you first promised to walk this journey together. 50 years ago. We recall now the joys that graced your days with light and beauty. Your 2 children, your 4 grandkids, the thousands of bears that you created, the many good days that make up these 5 decades. We also remember the storms, the ones that shook you, illness and loss, countless days caring for parents, caring for children, caring for each other. When we create a home with a spouse, we create a sanctuary where we can survive these storms, and where we thrive in these celebrations as you have, as you celebrate this anniversary. You mark the passage of time since first creating that sanctuary together. On this day of your anniversary, we pray that God will continue to dwell in your home and in your hearts. May you be blessed with a strong love that allows you to endure life's challenges and celebrate life's joys. And we ask that we get to be part of that as your community, that your mother, your children, your grandchildren, the friends who love you, all get to be part of the moments that are the blessings in your life, as we pledge to also be there for the times that are the struggles. For the time that we get to be together, we share the words of Shakianu. We as a community bless you and bless this moment that you have reached together and have invited us to join in. Shakianu, we join together as we bless this couple.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen.
To 50 more years. Yeah. Mazel tov.
Thank you.
You guys can go back to your seats. No, we'll keep it open. Page 282, we turn to the words of Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latenkadu la liotzer reshit shelo asanu kiguye haratzot velo samanu kamishpechot adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem vegor aleinu kechamonam va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad Ushamo echad.
Please be seated. Yesh kochavim she'oram magia arza, rak ka'asher hem atzmam avdu ve'enam. There are stars up above, so far away that we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. So it is with the people that we've loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But we are reminded that the stars that light up the darkest night are the lights. They are the stars that guide us. So as we live our days, we take this time to remember them. In our community, we turn our thoughts towards those that we've lost in this last month. David Cooper, Edwin Fleet, Annabelle Shine, Elaine Williamson, and Lillian Sib Meerman. So too we share those that we lost at this season in years past. Mary Capper Berry, Fanny Belsky, Miriam Blumberg, Beatrice Buxbaum, Sam Farber, Rena Jaffa, Bert Marks Jr., Bessie Kavar, Ira Kay, Victor Clayton Kelly, Helen Ethel Coltnow, Sylvia Lapidus, Mary Lubin, John Mild, Becky Newman, Stanford Regal, Ruth Rose, Marvin Rosenfeld, Beryl Rothschild, Saul Sachs, Felice Schaefer, Betty Schlitt, Nechama Schneider, Ruth Sider, Jay Stern, Albert Weisberger, Thomas G. West, Esther Weiner, and Cecilia Wolfand. If there are names I mispronounced or names you'd like to add, please share them. Any others? Page 294, please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, bagala uv'izman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, huya asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world, as we say, amen. Having connected with those that we've loved and lost, we now connect with each other as we bless each other with the words of the priests. May God bless you and keep you. May God's presence be with you and be gracious unto you. May we always know that when we are in the circle of our family and our friends and our community, that God is present. May that presence bring us peace.
Amen.
Please be seated. We invite one of our presidents, Andrew. Andrew won the toss. Andrew Meerman's going to share a few announcements with us. Let's give you a...
Oh, I thought I was loud enough, but I guess not. To my Vez family, wishing you all everything wonderful tomorrow and enjoy every moment of it. Patty and Wayne, Mazel Tov on 50 years. Wish on behalf of the congregation with you nothing but the best. There's Torah study tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in the boardroom, and then of course we have Aaliyah's bat mitzvah thereafter at 10:30. Next Friday night we have Brett Noah and Haley Fromson who will join us on Homecoming Shabbat. So that is a casual service where you get to actually wear your favorite sports team's apparel. So I have a note here, but I don't know if I could say it. It says even the school of, I can't say it, Bob, the team up north. You can wear that.
Excuse me?
You can't, yeah, well, I have the microphone right now. So, but yes, you could wear the team up north as well. So that's what we have as announcements. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We invite the Mayaves family up, Noel and Logan, to lead us in Kiddush. And Motzi, please stand. It's on page 5 in your prayer books. Take the cup. Take the cup. You can hold the cup. You've done this before.
Yeah, that's true.
Use the mic.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodesho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziyat mitzrayim, ki banu v'charta v'yotanu kidashta mikohamim, v'shabbat kodecha be'ahava uvratzon hinkatanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashavat. Amen.
You can have a sip if you want, and if you'll uncover the challah, we'll say Motzi together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Thank you. We look forward, Aliyah. Where are you, Aliyah? We look forward to being with you in the morning as you'll lead us in our service and be our teacher. We'll close with Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu as we go out into our Shabbat.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'akulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'akulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'akulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'akulam. Shabbat Shalom.